A three,
Mhm.
a two, a three, two, one, go.
Hey, how are you doing, Jason? It's been a week.
Yes, it has been a week. Yes, it
Yeah,
has
we
been a
got a
week.
lot of positive reviews for posting things up on Spotify and Google Podcasts. Still working on Apple, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Yeah, yeah.
And my dad actually listened to the podcast.
Really? That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. What do you think?
He asked a lot of questions, but it
Mhm.
was a positive reaction mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to get questions instead of like just the typical it's okay, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it is better than that.
I'd rather get bad questions than that.
So that's doing much better.
Yeah.
And like you said, being up on Spotify now.
Really changes things up. Yeah. Oh man.
Now, like my brother will also be listening to us on like a very
Yeah.
daily thing.
Yeah. My brother also been listening quite a lot. I actually went through the entire catalog,
He
which is a
did.
good thing. Yep.
I don't know about the first couple of episodes.
It is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, we're just right now. This is gonna be episode 15, so I think we're slowly improving, of course. And if you can see the difference between episode 1 and episode 14, I mean, it's a huge difference, right?
So it was like episode 1 and 2 are like a bit dodgy in my eyes, and then 3 is like okay, all right. 3 and 4 are like okay. No, I think it's 4, 3, 5. We'll talk about this later. We'll probably have a talk about which are our favorite episodes so far. Maybe if we reach maybe we reach episode 20 or something as a celebration. We talk about that.
Yeah.
Besides that, before we get into our theme of the month, as people remember, spirituality and religion, we did have some homework that we promised you guys we would do. But just ask Oscar, how are you doing?
Me, how am I doing? What do you mean, how am I doing?
How are you doing in your life? Are you happy?
Am I happy? I don't know if I'm happy. Am I happy? That's not. It's funny. That should be an easy question to answer, but it's not very easy. Okay, you know what? I'm not happy. I'm not happy with my life.
Oh,
I'm not happy with my life.
no.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna ask you why, but before you answer, I just want to say that it's a very funny thing that we ask so many different questions, like how was work today? What did you do in your day? Stuff like that. But we never ask the question, are you happy?
Yes,
even though are you happy is one of the most important questions you can ask somebody, right? We never ask that. It's never. So,
are you happy?
Recently, yeah, I've been quite happy actually, because as you know, I've been meeting someone and it's been going really, really well. They make me smile a lot.
That's good.
They don't know the podcast exists. I'm probably gonna change that soon. But I'm not sure how I feel about somebody who I'm like dating, listening to like my inner thoughts like this. But then again, it's like this thing is out there, man. So I need to, if I plan on being with this person for a very long time, they need to embrace me for who I am, especially like the kind of shit we talk on this podcast. So
yeah, so like what happened? My wife doesn't listen to podcasts. I don't think she's ever listened to even one episode.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess it works.
But it must be hard since Yumiko's second language is English, right? And the topics we're talking about, they're pretty hard. They're pretty like deeply dissectable topics. Also, I don't think everyone will find it interesting, right?
Yeah, so maybe she might just tell you a podcast. Let's just throw it out there,
Yeah. Like a weird society and culture / philosophy. What is the podcast? Did I ever ask you this question? What category would you put our podcast under? Because that was one of the harder parts. I know we do a bit of philosophy, so philosophy is one of them. What else?
Of course, philosophy, religion, history.
That's 4.
Trash. And trash.
We should just create our own. Okay, we should just create our own category. All right. Let's just finish up with that question before we move on. So, why?
Why what?
Why are you not happy?
Why am I not happy?
Yeah.
I'm not happy because of my own internal narratives, But yesterday I had kind of an epiphany, and I don't want to say what the epiphany was, but it's one of those things like in low moments you come to a realization. You realize, okay, so why do I feel why am I being this way? Why do I feel this way? It doesn't make any sense. I feel like I've been chasing something that will always be out of my reach, and I should just stop chasing that thing. And that's going to be happiness,
All right. Sounds like we'll talk more about it after the podcast, since you don't want to share it.
I do not want to. Yeah.
Okay, so going straight back into the theme. So our homework. There was a Proverbs that confused us. It was Proverbs 21:3, right? Proverbs 21:3 reads,
to do justice, to do righteousness and justice is more preferred to the Lord than sacrifice. Something like that, I believe, yeah?
Yes, that is actually right. Completely right. So that one, looking into that one, there's a lot of interpretations. A lot of them do say, majority, it's like the Lord wants you to do more than just sacrifice to him. He wants you to live a life of righteousness.
Okay, so what I came up with is that, so I think what was confusing me was the judgment part of the quotes.
And yeah, I was gonna get into that. That judgment part seems like it's just a translation thing.
Yes, exactly. So the commentary I got was so justice and judgment should be combined into just one phrase instead of two separate words. And here, justice and judgment refers to the conscientious performance of all our duties to men, right? Just being responsible, being upright, being trustworthy, right? And now, why this is more preferred than sacrifice is because sacrifice is the most costly outward service offered to God, joined with the neglect of our moral duties to men. So it's like, I'm not going to be a good guy. I can steal, I can lie, I can do all these bad things as long as I sacrifice,
Yes. Yeah.
So that's why God prefers justice and judgment over sacrifice.
And in a lot of the older versions, judgment is actually righteousness. So in the Hebrews names version, to do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice. So now that makes more sense, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
The judgment part somewhere along the line became righteousness. I mean, from righteousness it became judgment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. Yeah.
No, it's just one of those things, it gets lost in translation, right? Literally.
Yep.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. So today, can we jump right in?
Let's jump right in.
So last time we talked about, do you even remember what we talked about, Oscar?
We talked about Buddhism, what is God? And look at different religions to describe what God is. We looked at Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity, and we came to a conclusion what God is doesn't really matter as far as I'm concerned. And we actually came to the conclusion that God is the Father, the All Father, Odin, as you would call him that.
Okay.
Because we changed the translation from English to Japanese, and from Japanese we got something that works for both of us.
Okay, someone's been listening to our podcast, so I'm very happy.
Yes.
All right. So, how can we know God exists? Because if God is truly this otherworldly being, right? Is his existence something so far apart from how we experience reality to a point where it's we can't even know if he exists. Like, we're incapable of like sensing him as human beings.
So what I feel is that if God is everything, if God is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, the idea is, this is basically saying that God is the universe, right? And there was this very interesting quote I had from Neil deGrasse Tyson. And Neil deGrasse Tyson said that the universe does not owe you its understanding, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, like the universe doesn't need you to understand it, you know? Just like for us human beings, we don't need to, God doesn't need us to understand him or her, or whatever it is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If God is, God simply is. And the fact that we exist, if the stories are true, is simply because God is real, you know? And that's it, you know? Just like the ant that dies when you stomp on it, would wonder. I don't think it wonders, why is this thing doing this to us, you know?
It's just one moment it's there, one moment it's gone.
Exactly.
I think it's the first time you've ever said something where I'm like, wow, I have nothing to add really. That was actually that was like a perfect answer. Oscar, what's in your coffee today? Huh? Today your coffee...
My coffee has cinnamon in it. I always put cinnamon in my coffee.
You're drinking some strong stuff, huh? You're doing very well. Yeah, I have nothing to add to that. Like what you said, if he truly does exist, if he or she exists, it's like God is an entity that it wouldn't require, like, why would you, like, for example, if you being the miraculous being that you are, why would you have to explain your existence to ants, you know?
Exactly.
Like, they're so small and like they're so trivial to you, right? There are definitely some untouched anthills in the world, right? They've heard of this thing called the human beings, you know? Can you think the human beings are large? These large animals that can fly. They're like gods, you know? Stuff like that. It's like it doesn't really matter in the end, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter.
Like what you said, like, simply because it exists. So, yeah, God is the universe, and he doesn't really bend to our understanding.
Nope.
So, question number 3. If God exists, why do good people suffer?
Because God is benevolent.
What? Why do good people suffer?
Yeah, because good people suffer because God is not concerned with good or bad.
Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. So God isn't benevolent. God is what's the opposite? Not the opposite of benevolent. What's like being in the middle? No, not malevolent or benevolent.
Omnivalent. Like I'm making that up. what is the one in the middle?
Wait, the one in the middle is okay. Maybe like ambivalent. Maybe.
Ambivalent. Oh, I think you're right, actually.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but I feel like maybe that's the word, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so God is
ambivalent, God is having mixed feelings or contradictory ideas about something or someone. That's not right.
Oh, okay, it's not right, but I don't know. So what I'm trying to say is that God is somewhere in the middle. You know, he's in the middle. If God is everything, then that means all the good and bad is God. Because think about it. The devil wasn't just a bad thing. The devil was an angel. And if God knows everything that's going to happen, why didn't God stop this angel from becoming this evil thing? He let it happen. Is God playing games with the universe?
That's the question right there, right? It's like, but then this is where it gets into the contradictions in the Bible. God is all good.
No, I think God, I think that's the New Testament of the Bible. If you look at the Old Testament, God isn't all good. God is rageful. He's vengeful.
Especially in the Old Testament. Oh my
exactly.
God.
Exactly. God is like, I don't like these guys. Smite them. You know?
God was basically father with the belt when he gets home.
Exactly.
And he sees the children have created a mess in the sitting room. It's like, where's my belt? Where's my belt?
Yeah, so I think God isn't all good. God, like here's the thing. When I was in high school, I had this chemistry teacher. And this chemistry teacher, he had this very interesting phrase. I love this phrase. He used to say, I am not your friend, I'm your teacher, And because it's like, I'm not gonna laugh with you kids, I'm not gonna laugh with you. If you make a mess, I'm gonna punish you, I'm gonna discipline you, right?
Yeah.
And that's God. God says, you know what? I'm not your friend. I'm your father. I'm your mother. You make a mistake, I'm gonna show you what I can do,
Even if it means like flattening cities and causing all kinds of
flooding the world, whatever it is,
natural disasters.
Yeah. Like there's this really interesting part I believe it's Genesis in the Bible where God said it to Noah. He was talking to Noah. It was Genesis, yes. He was talking to Noah or to an angel regarding Noah. I'm not quite sure. He said that humanity is filled with such decadence in their souls that nothing can be done but to get rid of them. And that was why God brought forth the flood. He was looking to wipe everyone out. He was tired.
He was tired of all the evil and decadence and
yes. And humanity.
Yeah.
And that's God. That's the Old Testament God. Now you see, the New Testament, I don't think I could be wrong. I haven't researched the Bible, but this is just the things I remember from the Bible as a kid. The New Testament doesn't focus so much on God, but rather on Jesus and the love that Jesus had for his brothers, for the world, for people, right?
Yes.
But the Old Testament is simply the history. Jewish history leading up to the beginning of Christian history, which is the New Testament.
I'm like, how many times did God even destroy the world? It seemed like you're just pressing the reset button every other story.
Yeah, it's like, I'm tired of you guys, you're not fun anymore.
Reset.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But he always somehow kept enough people alive so that humanity could carry on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so why do good people suffer? Good people suffer because of an old quote. The quote is, children will pay for the sins of their father,
So you're saying that are human beings sinful the minute they're born? Are they born in sin?
I don't think a child is born in sin.
Where's the sin come from?
The sin is coming from those people around you, Imagine you live... Okay, think about this. Germans today still carry the emotional burden, the guilt of having been descendants of Nazis, They might not say it, but they definitely do.
Actually, in a recent, I think a few articles, people are saying, Germany should be considered the leaders of Europe because of how strong the economy is. They've been taking the most immigrants in the most recent years, and just people thinking about how Germany is the leader in Europe brought back the World War II sentiment. Everyone just started getting uncomfortable.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So these people who are in Germany today are paying for the sins of their father. So these are good people. So you can say, okay, hypothetically speaking, these are good people who are being punished by God for something that their forefathers did.
Okay. So, because I get what you're saying. Because I was gonna break it down in another way, but actually, what you're saying does kind of make sense. We do. I do believe that we ultimately reap from the sins of the father.
Yes.
And whatever happened in previous generations can come back and haunt you full force.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Your family can carry ghosts and demons.
Yeah. Don't we all?
And if you watch the movie, what's the movie about the immigrants who escape into the UK? The horror movie.
Oh man, that's a good movie. What is it called? That's a really good movie.
We learned that sins can follow you. Sins and demons can follow you everywhere.
Yeah,
Sometimes you can't run away from it.
we were just talking about this when you had a call a few days ago, I believe, where I was saying like I left Kenya believing that everything I disliked about my life was in Kenya. Then I came to Japan and realized, no, I just carried all that shit with me, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that film is really good because it's like, it's not inherently apparent that you've carried all of that stuff with you. It just slowly, like, you get glimpses of it in your new life, quote unquote,
Yes.
new life, right?
Yeah.
And it almost like it breaches at the seams. I like the metaphor. There's a visual metaphor in the thing about the wall cracking and the wallpaper
Yes.
becoming
That was
undone,
beautiful. Yeah.
and then the horror like literally manifests underneath the house,
Yes.
and the house was literally rotting from the inside, right? Like
Yeah.
a mummy. It's like on the outside you see the wrappings, you think everything's good, but it's rotting underneath. And man, that film was so wonderful. Even the way it was filmed, it was just like, I like, now that we've talked about it like this, we need, like, I need to find the name just so that other people can watch it. Say something funny, Oscar. Keep people busy.
Yeah, I'm looking at like immigrants to the UK, Sudanese immigrants to the UK.
No one's, I think they didn't even say an African country. It was
No,
just
they do.
like,
They were Sudanese.
really?
Yeah, they say that several times. Several times. His house. Yep. His house. Yeah, there are a couple from South Sudan. They even say that right here. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Man, I must have been sleepy. I must have missed that part of the film. But yeah,
The movie is called His House.
His House, and people should definitely watch it for sure. And yeah, so you pay for the sins of your father. Good people get punished not because of like the things that they've, not necessarily because of the things that they've done in their life, but because, you know, the sins that have been carried on over multiple generations that probably go back all the way to the original sin of Cain and Abel, you know. Man,
original sin, was it Cain? No, it
wasn't Cain and Abel.
It was Adam and Eve eating from the tree? I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right, that was the original sin. You're right.
I could be wrong though, maybe you're right. Huh?
Is that the original sin? Was that the original sin or the original, like, do people consider that a sin? Oh, that's another question. What is the original sin? But I know me and you, like, our Bible studies is very, very rusty, so...
Okay. So, original sin is just a Christian doctrine. It's not really a sin. It's original sin is an Augustine Christian doctrine that says that everyone is born sinful. This means that they are born with built-in urge to do bad things and to disobey God. It is an important doctrine within the Roman Catholic Church.
All right, so the original sin is a name that has already been given to a specific doctrine. Then what was the first sin? The traditional Christian teaching, original sin is the result of Adam and Eve's disobedience to God when they blah blah blah. Yep, you're right. That's considered the first sin. So we have Adam and Eve to thank for the fucked up shit that we're in. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Eve. You know, and for the LGBT people out there too. Steve was there too, so relax. So why does evil exist? I think that was part of the question. I thought that was the angle you're gonna tackle. You know, if God exists, why good people suffer? You know.
Why does evil exist?
Yes, if God is...
Okay, so...
In the traditional thinking, if God is all good, then why does evil exist? You know? Because evil does exist. We can start there, right?
Breaking this down to the very basic. What is evil? What is evil? What would you consider evil?
What is evil?
You know? Is killing someone evil?
Killing someone, that's morals. That's part of morals. Because I'm pretty sure there's a society that considered, man, if you kill off somebody, maybe a specific person, right? Yeah, you're a hero. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, even today, like if soldiers kill terrorists, they're heroes, right? So what is evil? What is evil? Is hurting a child evil?
I think in many cultures and civilizations, I think hurting a child would be considered evil.
Okay, so we can talk about cultures and civilizations, right?
Yeah.
However, I believe as human beings, we're also part of nature. And in nature, do animals hurt the the cubs or the kittens? Does that happen?
No, they have a biological. They have a biological what
Mm.
coding that prevents them from doing that because they need to pass on their genes. They need to make sure their genes get passed on to the next generation.
So if that's the case, so if what you're saying is true, that means evil is doing anything that goes against our genetic and biological makeup, right? Because like if we are coded to protect kids, but someone can hurt their kid, then that is what evil is, right?
So evil can only exist in the environment of free will. So I think that's why a lot of people don't include animals.
Wait. So evil can only exist in the environment. That can't be right. So because if someone is born with a genetic, like if someone is born with a schizophrenia, for example, right? And through these schizophrenic episodes, they do things that are considered to be evil. Do you think that's free will?
Oh no, but then it's not evil because they don't have a choice. Yeah. So
Okay. What about someone who's molested as a child and grows up to be a molester? Is that free will?
there's two ways. So it depends on which you. Okay, this one's even a deeper one because now it's not nature versus nurture. I personally think somewhere along the line, the nurture was being embedded into this guy's psyche, and it became nature. So when it's still nurture at that point, you can still save him. But the moment it becomes his nature, it's kind of game over from there.
So now,
but that's my own personal thinking.
Yeah. So now,
from what I've read and seen, it might be different from what actually is happening, right?
So then that means at that point, when nature takes over, there's no free will anymore, right?
Yeah. You're set in your ways.
Okay, so let's look at good. Someone who's raised in a loving environment with loving parents, financially well off, taken to a good school, good education, and they become a good, upright citizen. Did they become good by choice?
Okay. Let's define good and bad before good and evil before we get any deep into this.
Yeah.
What is good and what's evil? So evil is anything that creates more suffering in the world. It's a way in which we create and multiply suffering and pain. While good is the opposite of that. That's the way I would describe it. What would you say?
I agree with that. Like anything that multiplies pain in the world, I totally agree with that.
Okay.
Totally agree with
okay. Yeah. Good and evil, it needs to be a choice, right? Because animals...
It can't be a choice.
An animal can't do evil because they're bound to at least the way we think about it. Animals are different. Like if we think about it in through Bible terms, right? Human beings were separated from animals and animals are bound to their biological nature, Human beings are bound to their biological nature, but we've been given this extra let's just say we're given the extra blessing of consciousness, so we can think about things a little bit more deeply or more big picture wise, right, than most animals. At least.
I wouldn't say consciousness is the right word here. I think dogs and cats and cows and pigs also have consciousness.
I'm thinking through the Bible. Human beings were born separated. Like God created us differently from animals, right? So in that sense, it's like we're even in the Bible. It's not animals aren't. Are animals ever shown to be committing sins? It's only people. It's only human beings, right?
Okay, so that's a very unfair question because you're saying have animals ever been shown to commit sins?
Yeah,
I think because sin is a human word. It's a human story, right? Sin, right? So animals can't commit sin because the story isn't real for them, right? Animals cannot be immoral right? And
Mhm.
anything immoral, if you consider immoral, is anything that a society disapproves of, right?
Mhm.
I don't think animals live in societies.
Oh, they
I
do live
don't.
in societies though. Some animals do.
I mean, like societies like ours, where we have laws in place to say you can't do this, you can't do that, right?
They
I
kind of
don't.
do that, but I understand
Mhm,
what you mean. Our
mhm.
society is way more complex than theirs, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So I don't think animals can be immoral. They cannot commit a sin. Can animals do even bad? Animals can't even do bad things. I think they can do things that we
That's
as human beings find bad.
that's my point. You
Mm.
can't really say what the things that animals do are evil.
No, they're not. They're not. However, now if we if we stop talking about religion for a second and look at evolution, right? We definitely evolved from something. We're not always human beings, right?
Yep.
And through the process of evolution, some things were passed down genetically, right? Be it traumas, be it like life lessons, whatever you want to call them, right? And
Okay.
as we gained the ability to have a language, we were able to decode those internal traumas into stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those stories are what ended up becoming the Bible and other religious books, you know? And the Bible says, do not kill, right? Because maybe when we were monkeys or chimps or whatever we were in the past, we figured out that if you kill your neighbor, you won't have anyone to help you when the saber-toothed tiger comes and attacks you.
Or he might have been of some importance somewhere along down
Yes,
the line. Yes.
exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, like the story of sin, it's not sin. I think sin is doing something that is gonna harm you later on in life.
Okay. Okay. Like an
Yes,
unpaid debt. Okay.
exactly. So in this sense, dogs can't really do this because you've seen dogs. When dogs get a bone, they bury the bone and take it out a day later, right?
Yeah.
Dogs do that, right? So dogs, they're being holy. I will say holy. They're being holy by being careful of the future, looking out for the future. You know,
They made a sacrifice for the future.
exactly.
Yeah.
They've made a sacrifice for the future, right?
Mm.
Now, as human beings, we can do that. However, we do fail because we have desires. You know, and there's this really brilliant quote by Seneca. Seneca said that when it comes to fears, we live like mortals. When it comes to desires, we live like immortals.
That is true. The
Yeah.
the human wants and desires are limited, right?
Yes, like look at me. Like smoking is bad, but I'm smoking cigarettes all the time, right?
Yep.
And when it comes to like having a bad class with like a few bad kids, I'm sweating my ass off. Like how will I'm so nervous for the day, you know? It's like yeah. So I think for human beings, like our desires overcome us, and we tend not to sacrifice for the future. Sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes, and that's when things become sinful, right? Like something like rape. Even let's look at rape, for instance. Rape is evil because if you just spend enough time with that woman that you might have raped, right? Talk to her, got to know her, you know, treated her with love and respect. That thing that you wanted so much, you will have gotten it.
Probably.
Free of charge. Here you are, right?
Yeah.
Not free of charge, but no, she will have given it to you. But now you, instead of like sacrificing time and compassion, you know, and empathy, you just want to have it now. I must have it now. That's when it becomes a sin.
Is evil a consequence of free will?
I don't think evil is a consequence of free will. I don't think anything is there. I don't think there's any free will anywhere. I don't think there's any free will anywhere. This is just me.
But like again, we're using the Bible as a reference here. So using the Bible, like free will exists, right? God instilled free will into us, right?
Okay, I think that's what the Bible says, but even the Bible is also not very. It's even the Bible doesn't really agree with that. Even the Bible doesn't really agree with
that was gonna be the next question.
Yeah.
But if free will does exist as the way the Bible describes it, then evil is just one of the consequences of that, right? That is to say, you can choose to walk in the path of righteousness, or you could choose to walk in the opposite. And that opposite is what we call evil, right? Walking away from God.
Yeah. Yeah, because let's think about this. Let's look at that first scene, Adam and Eve, right?
Yeah, the
God
first
put
one.
these two people in the Garden of Eden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And God puts this tree, the tree of knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
at the center of the garden, and tells these two guys, "Hey, look at that. You see that tree right in the middle? That big, beautiful tree in the middle with all the fruits? Don't eat that.
You can eat anything else, but you can't eat that one.
Yeah, that big, beautiful tree right in the middle. Don't touch that. Like, okay, so what games was God playing here? Pretty much, I have a kid. And if you want a kid to do something, tell them not to do it. Just tell them not to do it. If
So-
the moment, like, I have this lotion, like the Vaseline, the lotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, actually not the lotion. Like, there's some hair oil we put in Raha's hair,
Mm-hmm.
and Raha likes playing with the bottle so much, and she likes to open the bottle and close it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, if you take that bottle away from her, like, no, she's going to want it even more. But if I leave it there and just ignore it, she'll also forget about it. So it's like God was playing mind games with Adam and Eve. He wanted them to eat that thing. He wanted them to eat it. Why would he put it right in the middle? Why not hide it in a corner somewhere,
Good question. So this leads into the next question. Can free will exist in a world that is ruled by God's will? Because the Bible says God's will is like that's like the ultimate law of the universe.
Yeah.
Basically, our entire reality runs on God's law, or God's will. Sorry, rather. How does free will exist in this reality?
If God's will is the ultimate law of the universe, then free will cannot exist. Once again, cannot exist. Because God has decided. God has decided. It is this, like, you're going to die tomorrow, Jason. It's done. There's nothing more you can do about it.
So here's a little thought experiment, right? Let's say we have April, a kid called April. We have Bethel and we have Carol, right? They're standing in a line next.
Why such difficult names? Why Bethel and why Bethel? What's his normal name?
I don't know. Ben. Okay, April, Ben, Carol, right? They're standing on a very tight line, right? April pushes Ben. Ben accidentally nudges forward and pushes Carol. Carol falls off the edge. Who killed Carol?
Who killed Carol?
Yeah.
April killed Carol.
April killed Carol.
Yeah.
Why would you say April killed Carol?
Because April is the one that pushed Ben. Ben wasn't doing anything. He was standing there. Ben was pushed. And once he was pushed, he just leaned in the direction that he was being pushed towards. And he happened to touch Carol, who was just standing there. So I would say it's April's fault.
In the eyes of God, everyone would be punished, though. So what is separating your judgment from the way the Lord usually used to see it in, like, the Old Testament? The Old Testament, God would have just punished everyone.
I would say that my thinking and God's thinking in the Old Testament is that God in the Old Testament was a bit of an asshole. That's what I would say.
You just went out and said it. Okay.
It's true. Like, why punish everyone? Like, if you can see everything, like, Ben did nothing. He was just standing there. Why would you punish Ben? And even if you were to punish April, I don't think it would be such a harsh punishment, because she was probably just playing around, She did.
They're kids. Yeah, there's a reason why I said they're kids.
Yeah.
But still, all of them would have gotten harsh punishments.
Yeah, so it's like God is being a bit of an asshole there, It's like, that's not really fair, man.
So, does God make mistakes? This brings up a very good question. Is God capable?
Okay. If God omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, that means he cannot make any mistakes. We see them as mistakes because we're human beings. We are ants in the grand scale of things, So the reason we see them as mistakes is because we cannot understand his ways. We do not understand the universe.
So, by the definition of him being all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-good, he's essentially...
Not all good. Just, I wouldn't say all good.
Oh, so you actually disagree with the original definition?
I disagree with all good, because I think when people say all good, people are trying to be, you're trying to say God is good. It's like having a bad boss. Having a bad boss. You don't like your boss, but if you praise your boss, you hope your boss will be better to you.
Okay. Oh, like what you said. You said that was probably just in the New Testament. What did you say? You said that's something that was. They described God's nature in the New Testament.
Yes. So I wouldn't say God is all good or all bad. God just is. God just is. It's like a comet dropping onto Earth. It's like if God is the one that is running the universe, God brought that comet here. And as human beings, you're like, why God? Why do you want to kill us all? But God isn't thinking about just human beings on Earth. If God made the universe, what about maybe God has other planets all over the universe, and God is just playing these games, just throwing comets around,
So
maybe as a celestial being, there's something that He's doing that's too, like, the picture is way too big for us to see. We can only see one piece of the puzzle, and that piece is human life. We can't see the rest of the puzzle. So we think that if God isn't using this piece the right way, or using this piece the way we want it to be used, He is being unfair, He is being unjust. But no, there's a much larger thing happening around here that we can't see, because we're just human beings. We're just animals.
We are the players within the game, and our perspective is too limited for us to both play the game and be the spectator.
Yes.
So there's things that you'll always miss,
I don't think we're even the players. I think we're the characters being used by a player.
Or that. If you want to go a bit deeper than that.
And like it's a video game, and we're just the characters being run around. Like someone is controlling us from somewhere.
Yeah. And God is ultimately the game itself. He's everything that is in the game and outside of the game. He's everything.
Yes.
So like you as a character in the game, you wouldn't even know that you're a character. And that's why I think Matrix is the one that best captured this, right? You're living in a simulation or a video game. You wouldn't know.
Exactly.
So sorry, where was I going with this? I forgot. So the question was, does God make mistakes?
And I say no, God can't make mistakes. If the definition is true.
If the definition of, He can't make mistakes. I will ask this, can the Old Testament God, because clearly there seems to be a distinction between the Old Testament and the New Testament, can the Old Testament God, did He make mistakes?
Like, I'll say it again, as far as human eyes are concerned, yes. But as far as God is concerned, and as far as the celestial entities are concerned, maybe.
So, you're saying from your perspective, it clearly looks like he was a bit too harsh, and he was too trigger happy with all the resets, world resets. Yeah. But that being said, who are we to criticize him being the tiny beings that we are? You're accepting like the bounds of your own mortality and your own like limitations. As human beings are small, right? So especially just look compared to the earth, the stars, the universe. We're like dust on this huge painting of like of the universe, and everyone that everyone that has ever been, everyone that you'll ever know and matter, ultimately in the grand scheme of things don't matter. People don't like thinking about it like that, but like that's how big the universe is. It's so large to a point where it's like what we're doing on this pale tiny blue dot next to a tiny sun in like, are we on the edge of the Milky Way galaxy? I don't even know where we are. Well, like closer to the center, I think, if I remember correctly. Like we're in a very remote place, actually, in the universe. So, why do you think people don't like hearing things like that? I think so. Some people do. Some people find it interesting,
Yeah, like I think it's one thing to find it interesting and to one thing to like it. It's interesting. It's an interesting philosophical discussion. But the truth is, no one really. People like saying, "Yeah, we're all going to die one day." It's easy to say that, but do we truly accept that? I think if we were to truly accept that one day we will die, and we don't know when that day is, it will be very difficult for us to leave our doors. You know?
Somewhere along the way, we do have to accept our mortality, though.
We do have to accept, but it's still difficult, you know? Actually, we don't even need to accept. We don't need to accept it. It's just going to happen. You don't need to accept you'll die. You can live your whole life pretending that you'll never die, but you'll still die. And that's fine too. That's fine too. Why do you have to accept?
We've all heard those stories of people who cry on their dying beds, saying, I regret this, I regret that. Yeah. And that's because in the time when they were doing whatever they were doing, they didn't think they were going to die, right? Like when me and you are doing our own selfish things, right? Things that we know that will hurt us tomorrow. We're not thinking about our death in that moment. No. We're thinking about, fuck it, what is the most pleasure I can get in this very moment?
Yep.
Not thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow, what's the consequences for next week, you know? As the funny Simpson joke would be, is like the one that we've all heard.
That's a problem for future Homer.
Yeah, that's a problem for future Homer.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
When you drink like 4 strong zeros, knowing, you know, Yumiko will be angry when you get back home. You're just like, that's a problem for future Oscar. That's not my problem, you know? And we're always doing stuff like that. Everyone, we're always doing stuff like that. We'll look at something and go like, future me would really appreciate it if I did this right now. Then you just go like, well, screw that guy. Fuck him. I'm going to do what I want, you know?
Yep. I agree. I totally agree. We do that with everything. And that's the sin. You know, that's what sin is. Like, in my eyes, that's what sin is.
It is born from desire. So you're right. That is definitely it's part of sin. It's one of the sins. It's one of the sins for sure. I would agree with that. So does God make mistakes? Okay, we kind of answered that one. We kind of answered this, I think, indirectly. Did God create evil?
Yes.
Why did he create evil?
He didn't create evil. He just created everything. And evil was one of those things. I don't think he was looking to create evil. He wasn't looking to make Lucifer bad, I think. Maybe he was.
Because if he's all-knowing, then, like, he knew what Lucifer would ultimately become.
Yes. But he let things unfold because why not? Right?
I always
think about this. Okay, let me tell you like an analogy. When I was in high school, boys, like I was in a boys' school, right? It was all boys, and boys like fighting. And boys like seeing fights, right? There was this one time. It was after lunch break. These two boys were having a big argument outside. You know, like one in the we had like nice verandas at the back of the school. This boys were having a major argument in one of the verandas, and people were like fight. You know, people want to see them fighting, but they're not fighting. They're just arguing, right? So one guy took one of the boys' hands and threw the hand onto the other guy's face. You know, just like took his hand and just threw it to the other guy's face. And the fight broke out.
What? How?
Excitement in everyone. You know, so that's the thing. It's like maybe that guy who took the guy's hand, that was like God. Like, let me see what will happen if I do this. Let me see what will happen. Maybe I'll get some excitement today, you know? And
okay.
That's God letting Lucifer incite all the angels. That's God putting the tree of knowledge right at the center of the garden, you know?
So
it's like, let's see what will happen. Maybe God is just like, you know what? I've made these things. Let's see what they can do. Let's see how far I can push them.
Okay, you're making it sound pretty dark, but okay. Like God just created a bunch of toys and he's just...
Exactly, because because maybe if God is real, if God did create us, of course, we owe him our allegiance to some degree.
Yeah.
However, we don't really know why God created us. Maybe he made us just because he was bored, you know? It's like sometimes people have kids not because they were in love with their spouses or their girlfriends or because they want to start a family. Sometimes people just have kids because they fucked up, you know?
So in this case, God fucked up and had kids.
Not really fucked up, but maybe he was just bored. Sometimes women want to have kids because they want some excitement in their lives, you know?
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So maybe we think of God, oh, he's good, he's going to take care of us. But if that were really the case, we wouldn't have genocides. Rwanda wouldn't happen, you know? The World War II wouldn't happen. Myanmar right now wouldn't be happening, you know? All this COVID-19, all this Ebola wouldn't be here. But it's all happening. If God was all good, will these things really be happening? No, I don't think so. These things are happening because if God is real, once again, if God is real, God just wants to see what will happen next. He's also having fun, maybe. And we might not understand that. And if that's the case, no one would like that. No one would like to agree to that, right?
Yeah.
Because then why are you going to church? Why am I praying? Why am I asking this being for his grace if he's just playing games with us? I'm not saying that is the case. That's just what I think.
So Supernatural is a TV show that started a long time ago.
2005.
So the first 5 seasons is what I want to focus on, because for the first 5 seasons, really, like, there was different perspectives. You would hear what God was like through multiple sources within the show, right? You'd hear from different angels, you'd hear from Lucifer himself, and you'd always hear this, like, similar to the Old Testament and New Testament, you'd always hear a different version of God depending on which character was talking. You would hear the lower level angels would always say God was like the Father. He was all loving. He would always, like, he would want to save everything, right? While the other angels, especially like the archangels who were closer to him and spent the most time with him, would always call him and tell him, like, he was a person who was distant and who let things play out the way they would play out, you know? And then Lucifer would say that, oh no, God was actually very manipulative and he did things for fun. So there were all these different versions of God that you'd hear. Ultimately, we did see what God was like in the later seasons, but I don't want to talk about the later seasons because the later seasons are shit. But so my point is that there was that interesting idea of, like, in Supernatural where, like, God created the world almost like a self-governing video game, right? And he took a step back and just watched it all play out. So God in the Supernatural universe is watching everyone just so that he knows there's multiple different endings and different paths. He wants to see what people do. And there's parts of it that doesn't make sense, but I found it very interesting that the way they depicted him as, like, somebody who had just, like, basically has taken a step back and is trying to see if his children can take care of themselves. That's basically the God that was depicted in Supernatural. He will only come in to step in the points where the game would almost break itself or somebody was doing something really egregious. But for the most part, he was completely gone. Even the angels said that God is gone. Like, we don't even know where he is at the moment.
Yeah.
And I always like the analogy, like, the archangels would always be like, Dad is not here, you know, as if, like, God was like some beat down dad who just disappeared one day. God isn't here, you know.
Yeah.
So there are all these different perspectives of what God could be. A lot of them depict him as a father figure. Never as a mother figure. I'm not really sure.
I guess because of just the Bible, you know, the way the Bible is written, you know, God the Father. He is our Father. I've never seen the Bible say she.
Yeah, I've never seen the Bible say she. That's.
Yeah, I guess it's just human nature, you know, the way things were in the past. I think right now it's written like God the Mother. It wouldn't really bother anyone. I mean, it wouldn't bother some people. I'm sure some people will be bothered, but I don't think it matters. It's God. I don't if it's God the mother, God the father. It doesn't really matter.
The father was.
But I think it does make a difference. If you're going to start off from the Old Testament and the rage and the rage of God, I would think that's more of a
Father figure.
Masculine attribute,
Yeah, the
Yeah, so maybe
aggressiveness.
that's why.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Maybe.
is your father the God of your life? Is your father the God of your life, Oscar? Or at some point was he the God of your life?
Yeah, as a child, of course. As a child, your father is like he's Superman, he's so strong, he can do anything. It's like,
for lots of
he can
children, it
kill
is that,
anything.
right? Because I'm just really thinking about it. I'm just like, that idea must be so strong. You hear about the God, the Lord that is your father, and he's this ultimate being. And then
not
you also
only
have
that,
your own father. They share the
Yeah.
same name,
Yeah.
I'm like, what does
And not only
that do
it's
in
like,
your mind?
even like, there's, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but there's kind of this mixed feeling of like fear and love when it comes to like your father as a child. At
The
least for me,
same thing you would feel for God, right? At
Yeah,
least,
like there's
yeah.
a mixed feeling of fear. It's fear and love. It's like, I'm not really sure. It's like I was scared of dad. That's one thing I'm sure of. Like, I knew my mother could punish us, but I was more fearful of my father's punishments.
Yeah.
Even though they were the same punishment, they pretty much they're always the same punishment. But my dad's, they were always like, that was more scary.
I think you're not the only one who's scared of dad's belt. Dad's belt coming off. Dad's belt coming off. And man, I need to look. I want to understand that more. Where did that come from exactly? Where did it come from? The idea of like fathers being
what?
Not gods, but ultimately, I think maybe it's got to do with the biology and how everything has been evolved. But then it'll be like, wait, biological wise and evolutionary wise, like men would always be the ones who are hunting and out there getting food. So you'd think maybe the mothers would be known as the disciplinaries?
I think mothers have a bigger role in terms of like being a godlike figure. I would say a mother plays that role more than a father. So a father, I would say a father is the Old Testament God, and a mother is the New Testament God, because a mother is the giver of life. That she literally feeds you,
That makes sense.
From her body, she offers you nutrition, She's the one whose embrace gives you comfort,
Yeah.
So the mother is the Old Testament God. So I think the Old Testament should be God the mother. The New Testament should be God the mother, and the Old Testament should be God the father.
That does make a lot of sense, actually. Good job, Oscar. Good job. I was gonna draw the connection between Mother Nature and mothers. Mother Nature is ultimately the clay in which human beings were formed from, right? We were born from Mother Nature, and
yes, yeah, like this is.
And Mother Nature is beyond something that we understand, and Mother Nature can ultimately be. It can show itself in different ways, It can be a desert, or like a beautiful beach, a nice like tranquil forest, or it could be a tsunami, a hurricane, and tornado. Sometimes you don't know what you're getting into, with Mother Nature. It's uncontrollable. Yet it's something that we were all born from, and something that we all have a deep connection with, right? There's that idea of like, oh, let's go back to the roots. Let's find our connection back with Mother Nature, right? And I think it's been shown time and time again that like people need their mothers. Not to say that single fathers obviously can't exist, right? Okay. But I guess there's a special connection to our mothers because we came out of them. Maybe not special, it's different. It's a different connection,
Of course.
It's a different connection that you'd ever have from the father. Yeah, it just can't.
This is something I read recently, not recently, a while back. I'm not sure if it's true. I read that the word uncle, the origins of the word uncle, are more ancient than the origins of the word father.
Oh, how did that come along?
Because so the idea is when people are living in hunter-gatherer tribes, all kids were never really sure who their father was because the idea of marriage didn't exist.
Damn, son.
Someone in your tribe is your father, and because no one knows whose kid is whose, all the men are responsible for all the kids. So that's why everyone was uncle, and uncle meant that you're possibly my dad, you know.
Or my second dad, or third dad.
Yes, exactly. But mother has always been mother. You can't fail to know who your mother is.
Of course. Like, I guess this is the last thing we're going to talk about. I'm like...
Oh, we don't have any quotes today? We're supposed to have quotes.
Oh, no, we're done. We'll do quotes in the next episode. There's plenty of quotes. We can do quotes for days. So, yeah, not having your mother, I was just thinking, like, what does that do to a child? Again, I don't want to beat down the people, the single fathers out there that, like, do an impossible job of raising a child on their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just like, a mother plays such an important figure in a child's life. And I'm just like, what does that do to a child when the mother isn't there, you know? Like, for a father figure, I feel like not having a father figure for a boy is particularly destructive and can be very toxic.
Yes.
Because the world disciplines him, and we don't know what kind of world the kid will be growing up in, right? So the kid can be colored. If he's born white, he can be colored in so many ways, and the mother wouldn't necessarily have control over that, right? So we know, like, I understand what it's like to, like, not understand personally, but, like, I can see how things can turn out when the father isn't there, right? But when the mother isn't there, I feel like that is, like, it can cause some deep emotional issues, you know? Like, the kids who get, like, abandoned by their mothers at a very young age, like, from what I've seen, 80-90% of the stories, like, these kids turned out to be really fucked up, you know? Unable to form friendships, relationships, or bonds with anyone. Like, very unhealthy things, you know? At least with, like, the father not being there, it's like, sure, they can become menace to society and they ultimately rule themselves, you know? But it doesn't seem to have that as a negative, that far or that extreme of a negative consequence than not having the mother in the kid's life. This is all from what I have seen and I have read. I am not a psychologist. I actually want to look even more into this since we brought up, like, you know, the origin of the father. How does this connect to the fathers that we have in our lives, and, like, the origin of the mother? How does that connect to our lives? What happens when those figures don't exist, or those beings don't exist, right? Because, like you said, I guess the main point is, like, when you're small, your father might as well be God, right?
Yes.
And when you're small, your mom is, like, everything. She provides everything for you. She is Mother Nature. So, what happens when those two aren't there? What happens to a kid? What happens to a child?
No mother, no father.
Or, like, when you take one of them out. When you take both of them out, man, that kid has literally just been... He's an absolute abyss at that point. He's deep in the abyss.
Yeah. Man, you need love. You need love, you know? Whatever we talk about the love of God, that's the love you get from your family, your parents as a child, you know? Like, I look at how Yumiko and I treat Raha, and I feel like the way we give her all this love, there's no way she will ever understand how much we love her. There's no way she will ever understand, you know? Like, it's funny, sometimes I just look at her, you know? I'm just I'm not expecting anything. She's not even necessarily doing anything, but I'm just looking at her because it's almost like I can't believe she exists, you know? And it takes me back, and sometimes I feel like crying just by looking at her. And that level of love what would you do if you love something this much?
Maybe.
Now, your child will never understand how much you love him or her. Just like you will never understand how much your parents love you. You will never ever understand.
Yeah.
And
And
that's the love of God. That is the love of God, the love of mom and dad.
the eternal love.
Mhm.
Everlasting.
Yes, I mean, if they're normal people, that is.
I think it's the love of God that will guide us to heaven. It's one of the pathways to heaven, right?
Yeah,
Righteousness,
it's love,
justice, love,
It's love, man. If you're loved,
beauty.
anything is okay. I remember one time when we were bartender, we had these events. It was like language exchange events. People coming to learn English and Japanese and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one beautiful Japanese girl was asked, "Why are you so beautiful?" You know, like it was as people were giving speeches, right?
Mm-hmm.
And can you guess what she said?
Because I am a god.
No, she said, "I am beautiful because my parents loved me." And that answer made me freeze, you know, like, oh my God. That's such a powerful answer. Such a powerful answer. I was expecting to, I work out, I take care of myself. No. She said, I am beautiful because my parents loved me. And it's so true, man.
That
if your
is
parents
true,
love
yeah.
you enough,
You
if your
become
parents
a
love you
beautiful
enough,
being. Yeah.
you become self-confident. You'll have self-esteem. You'll be able to try anything, be willing to try anything, you know? Because no matter what happens, my parents have given me the room to fail because they always loved me.
Jesus.
So let me go out and try.
Jesus needed the Lord's love in order for him to make the ultimate sacrifice for everyone, right?
Exactly.
We all need love.
Yeah. So maybe the next episode is love and religion, huh?
Yeah, we can look into love and religion. Actually,
let's go.
we're over the hour, like we're 6 minutes over the hour mark.
Okay.
But the last couple of points were so potent that I just needed to hear. I wanted to hear what you had to say. I need to hear the ending of this, you know, as I'm talking and participating in it.
Yeah.
So, closing thoughts, anything that you want to say?
Thoughts. Listeners, I'm very happy. I'm happy to see the response I've been getting. By the way, one guy suggested a topic, and the topic was life after death. So I'm very glad that people are listening and giving us suggestions. We'll look into that for a future episode before the month ends.
Yes.
Don't worry, guys. We'll be up on Apple Podcasts very soon for those who are on your goddamn iPhones. Can't afford to pay for fucking Spotify. What's wrong with you? It's free. You can download and listen for free. You don't need Spotify Premium. You do not need Spotify Premium.
You just listen
to Dreams and Trash. Just listen. Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much for all our listeners. Thank you for all the people commenting. Thank you for thank you for everything. We're glad we're doing this, and it's helping us think and do homework and study. I'm no longer just watching Netflix, Jason. You know.
Damn. The podcast is literally changing the way we think and who we are as people. Yeah. What do you know?
Yep.
All right. Bye, Oscar. Bye, everyone.
Bye.